After starting over 3 businesses that didn't even make me $1 in profit, now I own multiple companies that do multiple 5 figures MRR. This is my third year in business and I'm only getting started. My goal with this video is pretty simple. It's for you to start a business and find a business that's most effective for you to start as a beginner with no resource, no money, no investment, no funding, no skills yet. And no, I'm not going to sell you into a course or sell you anything, matter of fact, in the middle of the video or at the end. Now, obviously, this video is heavily inspired by Iman Gadzhi's video, but he sold his course in the end, which pretty much ruined the whole video. So in this video, no pitches, no funnel, there's nothing. So you can just sit back, relax and watch. Now, obviously, since I'm not selling anything, I'm going to give you an unbiased opinion on the whole thing. So all you have to do is to pay attention and watch until the end. Now, why should you listen to me? You shouldn't. You should do your own research. None of these people online that tell you, listen, you should listen to me because I own a Lamborghini, I live in a house like this, I came up from nothing. All that is just to get into your emotion so that they can sell you anything. I'm not going to sell you anything. Still don't trust me? Do your own research. I have a few assumptions about you. Firstly, you have internet access and a pair of hands. Secondly, you have no money to start this business with. By that, not even $100 is what I mean. Thirdly, you don't have any skills yet. And fourth, you can spend 3 to 5 hours a day working on your business. If I'm right about the first 4 assumptions, I guarantee you can get your business up and running by the end of the week. Now, first things first, there's 2 big traps that starting entrepreneurs fall into, and even I'm guilty of this. Firstly, getting overly legal is the start. Don't worry about contracts, don't worry about registration, none of these things. The first thing is to validate your product idea. All these things can be worried about later. And secondly, worrying about MBA bullshit. Now listen, there's a lot of things don't really require that much attention. You know the principle where it's 80% of the results is guaranteed by 20% of the thing. The starting entrepreneurs focus on the 80% of nonsense work that gives no result. Now I'm going to present to you the different business models and it's going to be pretty simple. Firstly, it's the ease to sell. How easy is it to start selling these products based on your skill and your money to sell? Secondly, it's going to be easy to fulfill. How easy is it to fulfill these services or products that you're giving? The harder it is to fulfill, the more time it will take out of your business without any big return. Third, the saturation. How competitive is the market? Can you start and scale effectively without losing your mind? And fourth, and by far the most important, is running costs. The more cost you have means lower margins. The higher the costs, the lesser money you tend to keep. So basically you want low costs and very high profits. Upfront capital, the money that you put in initially. Notice how I'm not using complicated terms, no big terms, no average product value, none of these things. Okay, I'm going to keep it as simple as possible so that a third grader can understand these things. First business model is drop shipping. Okay, drop shipping is 2 out of 5 on ease to sell. Main reason being you will have to basically start investing money to test a product idea, validate the product idea. And secondly, the ease to fulfill. Now this is relatively easy to fulfill, so it's a 4 out of 5 or even a 5 out of 5 because all you have to do is to let your supplier know, and that's even automated now. Saturation is pretty saturated, so 4 out of 5. The running cost is pretty high, but the volume makes up for it, so this is not really a problem. The more that you'll be selling, the better it is. And upfront capital is pretty high because you might have to test different product ideas. Now notice that even e-commerce is pretty much the same thing, except the fulfillment also increases. And secondly, an agency model. Agency model is easy to sell because you don't really need money upfront and you can do 100 cold DMs a day and pretty much get your first client without losing any money upfront, unlike the drop shipping that we discussed earlier. Now the ease to fulfill, it's harder to fulfill maybe because you'll have to find the right freelancers and arrange the logistics, but it's still not that hard. You can still do it. Now the saturation is getting more and more saturated by the day. There's different types of agencies that you could start, so 3 out of 5. Now the running cost is pretty low because you don't have to invest money and there's not much of a cost to fulfill either, and the upfront capital is low. So by far, agency model wins. Now, Amazon FBA, ease to sell 3 out of 5, ease to fulfill is 1 out of 5. It's the easiest by far. The saturation is extremely saturated, so 4 out of 5. The running cost is pretty high and the upfront capital pretty high too, mainly because you'll have to test different things and test different product ideas, maybe take photos of the right products, these different things, but there's always ways to reduce these costs, so it could be high or low depending on the skill of the entrepreneur. Freelancing, easy to sell, pretty easy because you can sign up on different sites and you'll get your orders by the day, or you could even do cold outreach. Ease to fulfill, 2 out of 5, mainly because you'll have to sit and do the work yourself, which is fine. It builds the skill. The saturation, 4 out of 5, because the competition is ever increasing. The running cost is low and the upfront capital is low. So by far, your best bet is freelancing. And info products, ease to sell is 1 out of 5, mainly because there are so many course sellers online that it's hard to differentiate yourself. Just to do something out of the ordinary, it's so hard. Like, you can look at Tate's marketing philosophy. He had to put a whole spin around his personality and hating women and doing these different things just to get people into his
who doesn't even suck dick? Afraid of. Yeah. But you're such a fucking coward. Make my coffee. No wonder you're a barista, you pussy.
Well, what color's your organic?
University. So if you can learn to capture attention, the better for you. Now the ease to fulfill is 4 out of 5 because it's a build once and sell twice model, which means that you can just build one single course and they're back at it again. Now this could also apply to masterminds and live coachings and things like this. There are ways to automate it in such a way that you don't have to go live every single time. These webinars, half the course sellers, they don't do it live all the time. All they're doing is that they're posting a recorded footage as a live, which is why you can't see the chat box. If you have subscribed to a course sellers mastermind, you will know that this is true. The saturation is a 3 out of 5 and it's ever increasing. The running cost is pretty low and the upfront capital is pretty low because it only takes a phone to build a course. This is basically a course what you're watching right now. Now SaaS product is by far your worst bet because the skills are pretty high. Ease to sell is 1 out of 5. Ease to fulfill is 4 out of 5 because it's a build once and sell twice. Saturation, it's not that saturated because it's harder to hire a development team. Now there are AI which can build everything, so the saturation as well is going up slowly. The running cost is medium because you'll have to keep updating the technology, and the upfront capital is very, very high. So this is your worst bet. So right now, so far, freelancing is your best bet. I want you all to listen to something, okay? Everything that we discussed so far is a cope, okay? Remember, everything that we discussed so far means nothing. Any of these business models could work. And the saturation doesn't matter because all of these models are enough saturated anyway. The ease to sell, you could overcome that by pre-selling. The ease to fulfill, all you have to do is to put in effort to find the right sequence of things that you'll have to do. And you can figure that part out either. And upfront capital, there's always a way to get a company started without putting money in. You cannot fail as a business if you don't put money in upfront. Guess what? If you're looking for a cheat code and looking for a business model, there aren't any. All you have to do is to get your first step forward and get it to work. Your best bet so far if you're starting out is to improve your skills, which means being a freelancer will teach you more than any of these things, because not only do you have to sell, but you'll also have to fulfill these things, and you'll also learn to manage these clients, which would translate into any business that you start in the future. That's what I would do. I started off selling for gyms. I was basically a freelancer. Now I've partnered up with almost 20 gyms all around India, and I have international clients in my other businesses. Any of these businesses would work. There are billionaires out of lawn mowing businesses, there are billionaires out of e-commerce, there are billionaires out of SaaS businesses. Any of them could work. All you have to do is to take the first step forward and stop waiting. Watching videos like these do not matter, because I'm not going to give you a cheat code and you're going to make money tomorrow. That's not how this thing works. All you have to do is take your first step. No matter what business you start up among the ones that we discussed, you can make it work if you really want it to.